When this black girl wore her old dress, a billionaire asked her to dance at midnight. It was a night like no other. The air was electric, charged with the whispers of secrets waiting to unfold. In the heart of the city, a grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers, casting shimmering light across elegantly clad guests. But amidst all the glamour, one girl stood out. She wore an old dress, frayed at the edges, its colors faded, yet it seemed to hold a life of its own. As she stepped into the room, heads turned, and a hush fell over the crowd. Who was this girl with a tattered gown that sang tales of years gone by? Curiosity hung thick in the air. The contrast was striking, a simple girl wrapped in a bygone dress at a gathering of the city's elite. She seemed like a relic from another time, yet she wore her history with grace. A stunning black girl, her smile bright against the dull fabric, radiating something like hope mixed with defiance. It was as if she stepped through a portal from a different era, and the room buzzed with wonder. As the night wore on, laughter mingled with murmurs of disbelief. Where did she come from? Why was she there? Was this her invitation to a life she had only dreamed of? The champagne flowed, but the gaze of one man, a billionaire known for his icy demeanor, lingered on her out-of-place presence. What caught his eye? What chaos swirled in his mind? He approached her, eyes locked in a gaze that sent shivers down her spine. The crowd, sensing the shift, drew closer, whispering theories, speculating on this unlikely pairing. The weight of attention felt heavy, muffling sounds around them. This was not just a dance, it was the beginning of a story that surged with the promise of change, a spark that could either ignite a new hope or burn everything to the ground. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The music shifted, a soft melody wrapping around them like a warm blanket. She felt her heart race, a tightness in her chest that spoke of excitement and fear. With no words exchanged, he offered his hand, and she took it, feeling the heat emanate from his palm. What did he want from her? What would this dance mean? Would it be a step toward a whirlwind future or a heart-sinking disaster? As they glided to the center of the ballroom, the world around them faded away. Laughter, clinking glasses, and murmuring voices turned into a distant echo. It was just them, two souls igniting the night. But she felt something shift in the air, an inkling of danger, the creeping notion that their lives were about to change forever. The tension rolled like thunder, and she wondered, could this moment unravel everything she knew? The music enveloped them, deep and resonant, matching the rhythm of her pounding heart. Her hand fit perfectly in his, fingers intertwining like two threads woven into a larger tapestry. Through the haze of swirling skirts and flickering lights, she caught glimpses of her reflection in the polished floor beneath her feet. A girl who dared to hope. A girl who wore an old dress at a gala, turning heads simply by existing. Yet, just beneath the surface of that hope, an undercurrent of fear gripped her. She could feel the gazes of the crowd, eyes narrowing, lips forming whispers that tugged at her consciousness. Who does she think she is? The judgment hung in the air, and she fought the urge to pull away, to retreat into the shadows from which she had emerged. But he pulled her closer, and she was struck by a magnetic energy that sparked wildly between them. His sharp jaw and piercing blue eyes held an intensity that made her breath hitch. Who was this man? What was he thinking as he spun her around the dance floor? Just breathe, she told herself, forcing a smile, even as moments of doubt gnawed at the edges of her thoughts. What did it matter that she felt out of place? The thrill of the dance was intoxicating. It wrapped around her like the fabric of her old dress, holding promises she hadn't dared to dream of before that night. As they twirled, she noticed something change in him. The relaxed grin melted away, replaced by a focus that seemed to darken his features. "What is it?" she dared to ask, breaking the silence. For a brief moment, his expression faltered. "There is something," he began, but before he could finish, a sudden hush cascaded over the crowd. She followed his gaze to a figure standing at the entrance of the ballroom, a woman dressed in a striking red gown, the color vivid and sharp against the muted luxury around her. The air shifted, like a storm rolling in. Tension surged as the woman scanned the crowd with a predatory stare, landing on the two of them. Unease rippled through the onlookers, whispers fluttering like frantic moths. Who is she? What does she want? Then, with grim determination, the red-dressed woman advanced, slicing through the space with an air of authority that commanded respect. Panic swelled within her. Could this be a hidden truth? A play she never wanted to be involved in? They remained poised on the dance floor, suspended between worlds, hers, full of hope and simplicity, and his, filled with the weight of untold secrets. "Stay close," he murmured, a hint of urgency threading through his voice. The billionaire held her tighter as the woman approached, the sound of her heels echoing ominously. "Now, this is a surprise," the woman purred, her tone icy. "Didn't he expect to see you dancing with her?" His grip tightened around her waist as he deflected the tension. "She is not what you think." The billionaire's words broke into a warning, yet she could sense the conflict in his stance. What was it about this woman that triggered the storm brewing within him? Was this the danger she felt lurking in the shadows? As the echoes of laughter dimmed, a different kind of noise filled the air: electricity, apprehension, and the unmistakable sensation that they were about to be thrust into a web of truths yet to be revealed. The moment sharpened into focus, with the ballroom around them fading like a memory. She focused on the woman, who looked like a storm of her own. Swallowing hard, she blinked away any lingering doubt. Two worlds collided, and in that moment, she knew this night was just the beginning. What had begun with a dance could lead to revelations she couldn't yet imagine, but what lay ahead promised to be more chaotic than she could ever predict. The air thickened with tension as the red-dressed woman stepped onto the dance floor, her presence suffocating and demanding. Each click of her heels felt like a countdown, echoing in a world suddenly stripped of music. Eyes followed her with a mix of fascination and dread, as if she were a moth drawn to a flame. "Let go of her," the woman commanded, her voice silky yet sharp. It was the kind of voice that made you shiver, and the crowd collectively held its breath. The billionaire hesitated, his gaze flicking from the woman to her, revealing a vulnerability that sent a wave of unease through her. "It's not what you think," he said again, his voice strained. "Then what exactly is it?" the woman asked, crossing her arms as a mocking smile danced on her lips. "How charming, your little dance with, well, whoever she is." The dismissal in her tone stung like a slap, and shame ignited within her chest. She felt the heat of the crowd's attention. Were they really waiting for a show to unfold? Could they sense the chaos brewing just below the surface, that unspeakable thing teetering on the brink? "Leave her out of this," he said, a fierceness entering his voice. She noticed how his entire frame shifted, becoming more protective. "Out of this?" The woman laughed, the sound slicing through the air. "You brought her into this, darling. You can't just waltz in here like it's some fairy tale." The floor beneath them felt suddenly unstable, as if it might swallow her whole. She couldn't stand the way the world around her warped. The laughter that once buoyed her spirit turned into whispers of ridicule. Feeling small, she looked up at the billionaire, searching for reassurance, but found only resolve etched into the lines of his face. Suddenly, the energy shifted again. The woman took a step forward, invading their space, as if she owned the ballroom. "Tell me, friend, What do you think she knows? She asked, her eyes sparkling with malice. In that moment, clarity jetted through her like lightning. She didn't know anything. Not really. Every joyful twirl, every second of dreamlike wonder was fragile and insubstantial, like spun sugar on a windy day. The crowd was buzzing with anticipation, the atmosphere thick enough to taste. Someone gasped. Nothing. She blurted out, the rush of truth spilling from her lips even as fear clawed at her throat. I don't know anything. I'm just here. His eyes widened, surprised by her outburst. What are you doing? He whispered, but the words were swept away by the storm brewing around them. The woman raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Just here? She repeated mockingly. Sweetheart, you don't get to be just here anymore. You are thrust into this world, and trust me, it won't let you go that easily. With those words, a wave of realization washed over her, cold and paralyzing. Something dark and twisted lurked beneath all the glitz and glamour. A sudden movement from the back of the room caught her eye. A shadow surged forward, breaking through the throng of onlookers, a figure so familiar yet so ominous. Heart racing, she strained to see who it was, but a sense of foreboding settled heavily on her chest, pressing down like a weight. Run, he urged, pulling her closer. The billionaire's voice faltered slightly, almost as if he too sensed the threat behind them. But where? She had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The elaborate ballroom, a place she had thought filled with dreams, suddenly turned into a trap, and she could feel the walls closing in. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw the red-dressed woman smirk, her victory palpable. The game was far from over. And as the pressure surrounded them, a single thought screamed in her head, what had she gotten herself into? Just when she thought the darkness couldn't get deeper, the figure emerged from the shadows, and she realized this battle was only beginning. The figure stepped into view, and her heart skipped a beat. It was Samuel, her younger brother, his expression a mixture of confusion and fear. He'd never seen her in a setting like this, surrounded by wealth and danger, and the way he looked at the billionaire confirmed the instinct she'd felt. Get away from her, Samuel shouted, pushing his way through the crowd, his small frame a stark contrast to the opulence surrounding them. No! The billionaire's voice was urgent, a warning layered with panic. Stay back. But Samuel wasn't listening. The fear that twisted in her gut was heavy. She wanted to scream at the chaos unfolding before her eyes. The red-dressed woman leaned closer toward the billionaire, her eyes gleaming like shards of glass. Isn't it sweet? A little brother trying to save the day. Desperation clawed at her throat. Samuel, please, she cried, but her voice was a mere whisper lost in the storm of tension. The eyes of the crowd flicked between them, uncertainty hanging in the air, as if the very fabric of the night strained under the weight of what was happening. The contrast of laughter and whispers drummed in her ears. Her heart hammered in her chest, a terrified rabbit trapped in a den of lions. Step away from her. Samuel's voice cracked as he hovered protectively in front of her. His loyalty was fierce, but his bravery was misplaced. She could see the wheels turning in the billionaire's mind, calculating, searching for a way out. Let him go, the red-dressed woman said, amusement dancing in her tone. Time to show what this crowd really came for. As she spoke, the shadows at the edge of the ballroom crept further, enveloping them. The laughter faded, swallowed by the dark aura surrounding them. The woman's eyes sparkled with cruel mischief. She loved this spectacle. No! Don't, the billionaire interjected, but the tension was electric, wrapping around them like a vice. The presence of the red-dressed woman filled the space, her power growing with each second. A guttural growl of protest erupted from Samuel, unaware of the danger hovering just above him. I'm not afraid of you, he defiantly challenged. Oh, darling, she purred, leaning closer, Fear is exactly what you should be feeling. Without warning, she flicked her wrist. In an instant, he stumbled back as her power crashed over him like a wave. The room fell silent, breaths caught in throats. His defiance faded, eyes wide, confusion gripping him. She felt her own resolve crumbling, panic bubbling to the surface. "Stop it!" she shouted, feeling small and powerless as she reached for her brother. The crowd held its breath, ensnared by the twisted drama of it all. "Just a little game," the red-dressed woman taunted. "Let us see who gets burned." The shadows crept closer, surrounding them as if alive, creeping tendrils of dread snaking around her heart. Desperation kicked in. She needed to protect Samuel. She'd do anything to keep him safe. "Enough!" The billionaire's voice thundered, breaking through the suffocating silence. "You will not touch him." In that moment, she caught a glimpse of the man beneath the billionaire facade. The protector. The fierce guardian willing to battle darkness for her and her brother. But the shadows, the tension, they all intensified, and the red-dressed woman let out a laugh filled with malice as her plan unfolded. She was caught between two worlds. The promise of safety under the billionaire's watch, and the haunting chaos of the woman dressed in red. But what would she choose? The answer weighed heavy on her heart as the darkness closed in around her, each heartbeat echoing uncertainty. The night wasn't over, not by a long shot. The real game was just about to begin. The shadows thickened around them, pulsating like a living entity, hungry and insatiable. The red-dressed woman smiled wider, a predatory glint in her eye, and the crowd shifted uneasily, unsure of whether to cheer or flee. "Don't you want to know just how far you're willing to go to protect him?" she taunted, her voice a serpent as hiss. The billionaire stepped forward, shielding Samuel with his outstretched arm. "You think you can intimidate us with your games?" His tone was a mixture of defiance and fear, and she could see the muscles in his jaw clenching, his determination hardening like steel. "Oh, but darling, this is hardly intimidation." The woman arched an eyebrow, leaning back slightly as if savoring the moment. "It's an irresistible invitation to play." Samuel, visibly trembling, looked back at her. His eyes were wide, brimming with confusion and hurt. "What is happening?" he whispered, his voice barely breaking through the chaos surrounding them. She felt her heart plunge. She had to act. Her instincts urged her to break through the suffocating gloom, to dispel it with a fierce light, but doubt gnawed at her. "Stay strong, Samuel," she encouraged, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She could feel the weight of all the spectators, their anticipation coiling tighter around her. "Shall we give them a show?" The red-dressed woman laughed, the sound sending a chilling shiver down her spine. With a flicker of her fingers, the shadows leaped, wrapping around Samuel with a grip that seemed almost sentient. "No!" she screamed. Without thinking, she lunged forward, grabbing Samuel's wrist just as the shadows tightened, her desperation propelling her forward with a reckless surge of adrenaline. But the billionaire was quick, repositioning himself beside them. "Get away from him, now!" he bellowed, radiating authority. The crowd gasped, their tension palpable. "Let us see who wins this little game then," the red-dressed woman purred, and as those words hung in the air, the shadows erupted, wilder than ever, surging towards both the billionaire and her. Time seemed to slow as she felt the cool touch of the darkness wrapping around her limbs, threatening to slicken her resolve. "I won't let you take him," she cried, fighting against the encroaching blackness. Suddenly, the billionaire stepped into the shadows, extending his hand toward her. "Trust me." His eyes burned with intensity. Just as the shadows lunged, he pulled her to him, drawing her away from the dark grip threatening to ensnare her. The air crackled as she felt a connection form between them, something deeper than she expected. But the red-dressed woman was relentless. "You think this is an escape? You have no idea what I'm capable of." Enough! The billionaire shouted, his voice cracking through the chaos. In one swift motion, he unleashed his own power, not a mere defense, but an offense that shocked everyone into silence. The shadows recoiled as if burned, revealing a swirling vortex of light that illuminated the ballroom in a kaleidoscope of colors. Heart racing, she grasped Samuel closer while the crowd gasped in awe, fear mingling with marvel. But she could see doubt creeping into the billionaire's expression. The red-dressed woman's laughter twisted back into the air like a poison. "Let us test the limits of your resolve, shall we?" A challenge spun in her eyes as she took a step back, composing herself as she prepared for the next move. With her pulse pounding in her ears, she realized something pivotal. They were all just pieces on this dangerous chessboard, and the game was far from over. What sacrifice lay ahead to protect Samuel? And what consequences would this fateful attraction bring to light? The night was charged with uncertainty, each tick of time echoing a promise of inevitable conflict. The tension in the air thickened, a living, breathing thing that clung to her skin. She could feel the eyes of the crowd weighing down on her, a multitude of silent judgments and experiences woven into that gaze. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. With Samuel still pressed against her side, she stole a glance at the billionaire, who was now standing bolt upright, his aura radiating an intense energy that felt both protective and vulnerable. But the red-dressed woman— "Oh, darling," she cooed, delighting in the panic around her. "You think that light will save you? It only draws more shadows." As if on cue, the lights flickered, rhythmic flashes of brilliance that dared to illuminate the deeply etched fear on people's faces. Those vibrant colors painted the walls around them, but they only deepened the shadows licking at the edges, hungry for a feast. "Run," she whispered to Samuel, glancing back at the billionaire, desperate to break their stalemate. But Samuel's eyes shimmered with something akin to determination. He wasn't going anywhere. "Stay together," the billionaire commanded, his jaw set against the encroaching darkness. "We can't show weakness." There was a conviction in him that sparked something in her heart, but the red-dressed woman's laughter snapped her focus back. "Oh, how charming," she drawled, "a quaint little trio against an endless night. But let us find out how well you really know each other." The shadows twisted, snaking toward them, as the crowd wavered between curiosity and horror. In a sudden move that felt like a violent ballet, the red-dressed woman raised her arms, and the shadows surged forward with a ferocity that turned her stomach. "Look out!" Samuel yelled, frantically pulling her closer as he kicked off his shoes, ready to sprint. But there was nowhere to go. This was a cage now, a cage made of fear and darkness, and she could feel it tightening around them. "Fight back!" she screamed at the billionaire, her voice lost amid the chaos. "Do something!" He stepped forward once more, eyes blazing, but this time she sensed a crack in his steel armor. I don't know if I can contain it," he uttered, the strain in his voice chilling. "What do you mean you can't?" "Her darkness is fed by our fear." The hint of desperation clawed at his throat. "If we lose faith now, it's over." The shadows quivered with glee, slithering closer, and she felt her resolve teetering. Fear whispered deceitful promises, offering a way out, but only through betrayal. "I want to let her win." "I refuse." Clutching Samuel's hands tightly, she summoned whatever light lingered within. "We need to believe in each other." In that moment, the billionaire took a frantic breath and nodded. "Together," he said, firm. "On 3. But before he could finish the countdown, the red-dressed woman snapped her fingers, and a roar of darkness struck, crashing over them like waves. It was a cold, heavy cloak that wrapped around her heart, squeezing tight. Did you really think it would be that easy? With a heart-thumping thud, she felt the world shift. The ballroom faded, colors dimming as they were pulled into an abyss of shadows, their screams swallowed by an inky void. "Fight!" came the billionaire's voice, distant now. Don't let her take you. But doubt twisted into her thoughts, and she could feel the solidity of the ground beneath her slipping away. The darkness seeped into her very being, whispering lies filled with fear, doubt, and despair. Hold on. Samuel's voice broke through, a lifeline fraying at the edges. We can't give up now. In that moment, tears streamed down her cheeks, mixing with the cold tendrils of shadow. But a spark flickered, tender but bright. It was hope, raw and unyielding, and just before the shadows enveloped them completely, she gripped Samuel's hand tighter and shouted, "No! We are stronger together." What would it take to pierce the heart of this darkness? Would their unity shine bright enough, or would they only succumb to despair? The dance between light and shadow had only just begun, and the stakes were rising. The darkness swallowed them whole. At first, it felt like being wrapped in velvet, thick and heavy, but soon it became oppressive, wet, clammy, suffocating. The chill wormed its way into her bones, and panic began to seep into her veins. "Samuel!" she cried, the sound barely breaking through the void. She felt his presence next to her, warmth and strength, grounding her even in the face of this terrifying abyss. "I'm here." Samuel's voice was a lifeline, pulling her away from the dizzying despair. "Hold on to me. Don't listen to the whispers." The shadows hissed around them, twisted faces forming from the darkness, mocking them, laying bare their insecurities. "You're not strong enough," they sneered. "You'll never escape. Just give in." "No!" she shouted, fury bubbling up inside her. "I will not succumb to you." Inside her, that flicker of hope sparked again, a little ember catching on wood. She tightened her grip on Samuel's hand. "We need to fight back. We have to believe in what we are." As if summoned by her words, a soft light shimmered in the distance, growing brighter. It flickered like a candle's flame, tentative yet defiant against the darkness. "Look!" she shouted, her heart racing with renewed energy. "That light, it's hope. We can reach it." The billionaire's voice broke through her thoughts, tense but resolute. "Focus on the light. Use your combined strength." His presence pulsed with a strange power. She could feel it resonating in her bones, like the echo of distant thunder. "We're stronger together," Samuel echoed, a fire igniting in his eyes. The shadows surged, pushing back with an almost physical force, trying to quench their budding light. "You think you can escape?" The red-dressed woman's voice snaked out from the darkness, taunting. "You're trapped. You always have been." "No!" she shouted, shaking off the chilling grip of fear. "We are not prisoners. We are warriors." As they pressed forward, the light grew stronger, illuminating the path ahead. In that moment, doubt receded, giving way to a rush of adrenaline. She felt supported and alive, standing shoulder to shoulder with the two people she had come to trust. "Together, on three." The billionaire's voice carried authority, echoing against the darkness. "One." The three of them united their voices, and her heart thumped louder. "Two." Each heartbeat synchronized, a drumroll spelling defiance. "Three." With one final push, they surged towards the light, the shadows clawing at them as if trying to drag them back, clawing at her clothes, her hair, her very spirit. But she refused to be pulled under. They barreled forward, arms linked, their hearts racing like wild horses. In that rush toward the light, something broke inside the darkness, a crack, a spine that shattered, and from it spilled pure brilliance, swallowing the void. The glow enveloped them entirely, wrapping around them like an embrace, and she felt warmth flood her soul. It was just light. It was the power of belief, of unity, of something deeper than any fear she had ever known. But the red-dressed woman's laughter echoed around them, sharp and filled with rage. "You think you can defeat me so easily? This is just the beginning." With that declaration, the light flickered uncertainly. She felt the thrum of doubt rise again, a creeping cold that clawed at her hope. What if this wasn't the escape they were so desperate for? What if it led them into something worse? What now? Samuel's voice quivered, uncertainty creeping into the edges of his courage. We keep moving, the billionaire commanded, determination brimming in his eyes. We must face her and the truth of our fears. And with them gathered in that moment of resolve, she knew a storm was brewing, one they might not survive. A question loomed, heavy in the air. What would they find on the other side of the light? Were they truly strong enough to confront the darkness waiting in the wings, ready to strike once more? The climax of their battle loomed ahead, and time was running out. The brilliance burst around them, creating a barrier against the tendrils of despair. She could feel the heat radiating, filling the spaces of doubt to the brim. Yet, even in this moment of hope, the darkness writhed just outside the glow, eager to seep back in. They raced toward the light, every footfall reverberating with purpose. But with each step, the laughter of the woman in the red dress pierced the air, unsettling their resolve. You can't run from me. I'll always be part of you. Her voice, a haunting melody, echoed through their minds, shaking any remnants of confidence. Keep going, Samuel shouted, squeezing her hand tighter. We can't look back. Not now. She glanced sideways at Samuel, his face lit by the warm glow. His fear mirrored hers, but together they shared a protective shield against the shadows. Ahead, the light pulsed, calling to them with every flicker. It wasn't just a destination, it was a promise. They pressed on, battling against the weight of the doubt that threatened to pull them back. The shadows clawed at them, whispering reminders of their greatest failures, the mockery and shame that had haunted them throughout their lives. The regrets, the wounds, all flashing like images in a twisted slideshow. No! She spat back at the darkness. You don't own me. Fuel surged from within, a fierce fire igniting her heart. The billionaire glanced at her, fire igniting in his eyes as well. That's it. Fight back. Use your pain as your weapon. Your past does not define you. Suddenly, an electric surge shot through their connection, linking their hearts more deeply than ever. In that moment of vulnerability, strength flourished. I am not afraid, she declared, her voice resounding with newfound power as the light expanded, pushing the shadows back further. But an echo rang out from the red-dressed woman. What will you do when the light fades? You will falter and fall. The shadows danced excitedly around them, clenching at their minds, testing their resolve. No! They screamed as one, a united front against the looming threat. Their voices harmonized, merging into a force that slammed against the very fabric of the darkness, pushing it back temporarily. Just as they thought they had the upper hand, the ground beneath them shifted. She stumbled, and the light flickered, revealing a path spiraling downwards, a dark, moist tunnel. Fear squeezed her heart as she looked over the edge. It seemed endless, a gaping maw ready to swallow them whole. Step back, Samuel shouted, eyes wide with panic. What if it's a trap? The billionaire held up his hand. No! We must decide. This could be the only way forward. His voice trembled, but there was a fierce resolve shimmering beneath. The darkness stretched before them, inviting yet ominous. An invitation whispered with promise, tainted with danger. They had come so far, but the risk felt overwhelming. What lay beyond looked vividly alive, like a feast that masked its poison with glimmering delights. What if it's worse than where we've just escaped? Her voice shook, an unsettling rip in their harmony. Every step forward is a risk, the billionaire replied steadily. But we can't slip back into despair. With hearts pounding, the trio looked at each other, the air thick with uncertainty. It was a moment suspended in time, each weighing their hopes against the crushing weight of fear. Are we ready? Samuel finally asked, glancing down the spiraling path. No, she admitted, her breath hitching in her throat. But I trust you both. Taking a deep breath, they joined hands, the light shimmering around them. Together, they readied themselves for the plunge. And with nothing but sheer will, they stepped forward into the unknown, the shadows snickering behind them. What awaited them in the darkness below? Would they finally confront the truth, or be ensnared in a web of nightmares? The answers loomed like ghosts in the shadows, tantalizing yet terrifying. As they fell into the darkness, a crushing silence enveloped them. The tunnel swallowed their cries, leaving only the pounding of their hearts echoing in their ears. Shadows swirled around them like a living thing, curling tightly against their skin, feeling almost like a weight that threatened to crush their resolve. "Stay close," Samuel shouted, his voice a desperate quaver. The small light they emitted flickered like a candle in a storm, barely keeping the encroaching darkness at bay. Panic surged through her, an electric pulse tightening her chest. She squeezed Samuel's hand harder, drawing strength from his presence. "We have to trust the light," she whispered, her own voice a fragile comfort against the dread choking her. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." As if in answer, the tunnel shifted. They landed with a thud, the ground beneath them hard and cold. She looked around, searching for any trace of their previous warmth. But all they found were jagged walls of darkness, glistening like liquid tar. It felt alive, pulling at her, begging her to submit to its embrace. "I can't see anything," she muttered, her heart racing. What if this was the trap? What if they had jumped straight into the mouth of despair? "Hold on to me," Samuel urged, his breath hot against her ear. She felt the billionaire's presence beside them, steady and calm. Wasn't he afraid? He was the anchor, standing firm against the tide of anxiety that threatened to drag them under. "We need to find a way out," he said, his voice steady despite the overwhelming fear. "Keep your heads clear." In the oppressive silence, a whisper drifted to her ears, thin and luring. The voice of the woman in the red dress twisted through her thoughts like a snake. "You're lost now. There's no way back. Only deeper into your fears." "No!" she yelled, clenching her fists. "We want to succumb to you." But doubt pulled in her mind. What if the darkness was right? What if there really was no way out? Suddenly, a soft glow emerged from the far end of the tunnel. It pulsed gently, almost the same as before, like a heartbeat. Excitement crashed into her like a wave, but it was accompanied by a tremor of fear. They had barely escaped the shadows. Wasn't it possible the light could lead them deeper into danger? "Let us move toward it," the billionaire said, squaring his shoulders. Together, the three of them pushed forward, cautious but determined. As they approached, the glow morphed into a brilliant portal. Ethereal shapes billowed within, visions of promise, and security flashed like photographs from a family album. Memories, dreams, desires. "Do you see that?" Samuel ventured, pointing at the images swirling around. "It feels familiar." "Yes," she whispered, her pulse quickening. But as she reached out, the shadows responded. They surged forward, seeking to obscure the entrance, threatening to swallow their resolve whole. "No! We can't let it back in." She felt the fear grip her like ice, but the warmth of Samuel's hand steadied her. The visions within the portal were too tempting, tugging at her soul. "Remember why we came here," Samuel shouted. "We came to fight. We cannot trust the darkness." With a shared breath, they stepped toward the light, ready to confront whatever awaited them. The shadows hissed, and for one brief moment, she felt a pull behind her, urging her back into their twisted embrace, and then a realization struck her like lightning. This is it. This is our chance. As the shadows recoiled, she stepped forward, feeling the fiery connection of her heart to the light. Each luminous figure in the portal glowed brighter, intertwining hope with courage. "What awaits us in there?" she thought, heart racing. But as they surged ahead, the laughter of the woman in the red dress echoed once more, drowning the light in impending dread. "You cannot hide from me forever, I will return." Were they truly escaping, or merely running into another trap? The light shimmered, a beacon of hope or a mirage. With the unanswered questions hanging thickly in the air, the tension clawed at their nerves. It was now or never. Their feet barely touched the ground as they leaped towards the shining promise. What awaited on the other side? Would they find salvation, or merely another layer of darkness? The answer hung tantalizingly just out of reach, daring them to discover it. The moment they plunged through the portal, everything transformed. There was no pain, no darkness, only warmth wrapping them in a comforting embrace. It felt like stepping into a sunbeam after being stuck in a storm. Light was everywhere, electric and shimmering, washing away the shadows that had clawed at their heels. She blinked, adjusting to the brilliance around her. In front of them unfolded a meadow, alive with color, flowers blooming in vibrant reds, yellows, and blues swaying gently in the breeze. A cacophony of laughter filled the air, a sound so pure it made her heart swell. This was different, a world that breathed life instead of fear. "Is this real?" Samuel whispered, eyes wide with wonder. "Yes," the billionaire replied, stepping forward into the glow. "This is part of who we are. This is the light we were fighting for." Elated, she joined him. The warmth spread through her, brightening the corners of her heart that the shadows had touched. It was surreal, a revelation that felt like a hug from the universe. They were not just escaping. They were reclaiming parts of themselves that had been stolen by fear and doubt. But as she absorbed the serenity, a chill enveloped her soul. The laughter faded to a whisper, the flowers began to wilt at the edges. The echoes of the red-dressed woman rang ominously in her mind. "You cannot hide from me forever." The brightness flickered slightly, a shadow creeping at the edges. "What if she finds us?" Samuel asked, his voice tinged with worry. "We won't let her," the billionaire declared, fists clenched, resolve solidifying the air around them. "This life, we have to claim it together." With a surge of courage, she took Samuel's hand and the billionaire's arm. "We've come too far. We won't let her darkness steal this from us." But the shadows lingered, lurking beneath the surface, clawing at the edge of their newfound sanctuary. It struck her that it was more than just a battle against a woman. It was a fight against everything that had sought to diminish their light. "Let us make a stand," she said, heart racing with the challenge. "If fear brought us together in darkness, then courage can unite us in this light." The meadow quivered in response. Outside the protective glow, the chilling voice of the red-dressed woman rippled through the air, like a reminder that their battle was not yet over. "You think this will last? I'll always find a way in." Time slowed as they stood together, united by a bond that the darkness could never sever. They could feel the rhythm of hope pulsing, each heartbeat a defiant declaration against the shadows. They channeled their fear into strength, theirs, and the strength of those they loved. "Now!" the billionaire shouted, stepping forward with electrifying confidence. "Together. We will not be swayed." Hand in hand, the three of them raised their free hands to the sky, their voices merging in a powerful crescendo that shattered the fragile silence. "We are more than fear. We are light." Colors erupted around them, brighter than anything they had seen. It was a visual symphony of hope that echoed with promise. The darkness recoiled, shrieking, as tendrils of shadow writhed, desperately trying to creep back into their lives, but with nothing to cling to. They felt a surge from within. Their warmth ignited a radiance that shattered the links of darkness around them like a fragile glass. The meadow deconstructed around them, transforming into a whirl of brilliant energy, colors mixing almost melodically. "Hold on!" Samuel shouted, pulling them closer. They spiraled upwards through the light, higher and higher, each heartbeat thumping in unison. Then, with one last push of strength, they shattered through the barrier of doubt than had held them captive for so long. With a deafening explosion of warmth and light, the portal collapsed into nothingness, leaving only peace and fulfillment in its wake. They were free. Exhausted but exhilarated, she collapsed on the soft ground, her chest heaving. Around her, flowers began to bloom with renewed life. It felt like rebirth. Did we really do it? Samuel asked, his eyes shimmering with hope. Yeah, we did, she replied, grinning wide. The billionaire knelt beside them, a lightness in his demeanor she hadn't seen before. We created this. Not just a barrier from the darkness, but a promise that fear will never define us. Relief washed over her, and she realized how much they had grown. Each step on this journey had woven them together tighter than any shadow could fray. Together, they shared a moment, wrapped in the warmth of newfound trust and love. And as they stood, two worlds coalescing into one, her heart felt full for the first time. They had faced darkness and emerged stronger. Let's go home, she said, her voice steady and unwavering. The promises awaited new beginnings, laughter, and light. As they walked hand in hand, stepping away from the remnants of fear, a bright horizon opened like a canvas, waiting for them to paint their stories, filled with adventure, growth, and the richest shades of hope. You have to hold on to that hope too. And don't forget, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss more exclusive stories waiting for you. Smash that like button now, because it feeds the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the journey you've just witnessed. And lastly, be brave, share this video with at least 5 friends who need encouragement in their battles against darkness. This community is all about connection, and with your support, we can keep building a sanctuary of light together. Don't wait even one more second to share.